What is good, everybody, man? Welcome into the Bluebloods official podcast of FCS Football Central on SI. Your host, as always, man, is that McKinnell, joined by my co-host, Coach Leroy Frederick. Man, Coach, it was cold. It was enjoyable, man. It was a hell of a weekend. Man, I had a blast in Frisco as always, man. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to our guys over at FCS Fans Nation. Shout out to everyone we got to chop it up with, man. We appreciate each and every one of y'all, man. This is one of the most fun trips every year, man. I look forward to it. Getting out with the different media members, getting out there with the fans, and always too, man, because we've been lucky. I mean, now listen, I've been going a little bit before you, man, but in your 2 years of going, man, we've been treated to some really, really good atmospheres, environments. And I'll say this, because there was a lot of skepticism around the night game, right? Moving it to Monday night. What was it going to be like? I'll say this. I think that was the best atmosphere ever in an FCS National Championship game that I've been to.
Well, the two that I've been to, day and night, so I've got a chance to do both. I think that night was really, really electric, and it may have had something to do with the teams that were involved. I don't know. Uh, I don't know if it could get much better than it was Monday night. It was a great atmosphere. Uh, you could feel it from the time they opened the gates to let the fans in. It filled up just like that. It was no lingering. They came in as soon as the gates were open, and it was loud. Uh, Other than the win, like you said, other than the win, it couldn't have been a better night. Couldn't have been a better night.
Nah, man, and listen, appreciate everyone for tuning in, man. Got a bunch of viewers on Twitter right now, a few on YouTube, man. It was a little early, Coach. It's a Friday morning. I know a lot of people uh are one either working or two snowed in. Maybe they got a little sleep in today, Coach. I know a lot of places are shut down, man. And listen, if you're anywhere where it's snowing down here in the South, man, I hope y'all stay safe, man. Stay at the
Most
house.
definitely.
It really ain't important to get out and drive nowhere today, man. Especially if you have no experience driving in the snow. Stay
Yeah,
home and keep everybody safe. Trust me. Coming from someone
most
who moved
definitely.
to Kansas, and I would call other people to take me places because I want driving up in the snow. And yeah, like Mr. Campbell said, it was the game, the teams that make that atmosphere. And listen, and I had a conversation with somebody who is in like the HBCU media space about this privately, Coach, and um we kind of talked about it. They asked me if I believe that they should move this game anywhere, anything. And I'm going to be honest, man, I don't think that's smart because Coach, we talked about it with some other FCS media members. Like, bro, we don't need to put this in the NFL stadium and have it half empty. And because you can, I think having a stadium that you can pack out to the max, have the fans standing up, the yelling, the screaming, Coach, it was so loud in that stadium at points and you saw it. There were multiple false starts. The crowd made a difference. I think when you get to these other bowl games that are in big NFL stadiums that aren't sold out, you don't get that effect, right, Coach? Where it's just, I think the environment makes it so special. And then also, too, Coach, having it on Monday night without any competition. We saw this, and real quick, I'm gonna actually pull this up, Coach, before we get into everything. 2.4 million viewers on Monday night, peaked at over 3 million, Coach. It is the most viewed FCS postseason event of the season, the second most watched FCS championship. The only game it's behind, Coach, was the North Dakota State James Madison in 2019, which was on ABC with no competition. So we know how crazy that got. But, Coach, your initial reaction, man, 2.4 million viewers, 3.1 million peak. It's going to be one of the most viewed games of bowl season outside of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean that was just from the stadium numbers, it was amazing. And we talked about it before, like you said, having a 25, 22, what was it, 23,000 seat stadium. They they announced it at one thing, but I don't know because you couldn't see a seat in the
There
house.
was not an open seat
Uh,
available.
yeah, you couldn't see a seat in the house. And just having that in that deal, man, man, like I told you, it's something to be said when you can turn and look and see exactly where the tickets divided. And this side went to one team, and then this side went to one team. It's just something to see, real special. And then, we kind of flipped it to, our bowl game. Uh, Me personally, I wish that was indoors. But I mean, I get it as to why. the seating, the stadium choice. Now I just worry about it when it moves because of uh, the stadium being redone there in Frisco. I just worry about it now moving to that, in Nashville. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. One thing is, man, I hate the pointless comparisons, right? Because I did see the tweet where they used the wrong data for the national championship, and a bunch of people were talking crazy about the Celebration Bowl versus the FCS National Championship. Coach, I've said multiple times on this platform, and can we just stop this, bro? I just want to put in perspective something for people. We had two FCS games, championship games, right, with the HBCU National Championship with the Celebration Bowl, the FCS National Championship, two FCS National Championship games got over 2 million views this all season. That should be the storyline. One on ABC, one on ESPN, man. That's the conversation. Then, coach, let's not forget this. There were 5 FCS postseason games that got over 1 million viewers this all season. You had you had Mercer NDSU getting at 1.4. You had SDSU NDSU at 1.58. You had South Dakota Montana State at 1.37, and that's not even including Idaho and Montana State and UIW SDSU getting over 750K. And I want to say the UIW SDSU game was at 905.
Yeah, yeah.
So, man, I'll say this: there was a lot of concern, right? A lot of narratives that the FCS wasn't going to make it in this age of the college football playoff, that nobody was going to tune in, that viewership was going to go down for not just FCS playoffs, but also the Celebration Bowl, right?
Yep.
That's not true, man. This was the strongest year of viewership for the FCS in the postseason that we've ever had. Man, it's time to give a round of applause to the FCS because I think,
Yeah.
Coach, there was a
That's
lot made about the Celebration Bowl moving. They made the right decision to get it away from the NFL, get it away from the college football playoff. The FCS championships did a great job. Now they got that ABC slot for the semifinals. They're on their own day for the championship. Both entities made the right decision this offseason on how to navigate this new space, which is the college football playoff at the P4 level.
Couldn't agree more. When you look at it, you look at the timing of the Celebration Bowl, December, uh, NFL's getting really to the nuts and bolts of it, as well as you have other the Power Five, Group Four, conference championship games, and to just stand there and still be strong in viewership. Like you said, it's something to be celebrated. And then for the FCS, the only complaint that I had, I think me and you kind of talked about it with the FCS, is just kind of how it just kind of it. I was worried about it getting lost because it kind of went a little long, as in the season, so to speak. Uh, but it didn't get lost. Apparently, everybody was waiting on it, just like we were. So I think both of those places, both of those games were really really big time, really good.
Let's get to the game now. Coach, I want to throw some stats at you real quick, all right? After this game, North Dakota State has won its 10th FCS national title. They are 10-1 in FCS national title games. Their only loss coming to South Dakota State that one year. Coach, this is the crazier stat. North Dakota State is now 51-5 in 56 D1 FCS playoff contests over 15 seasons. Coach, 51-5. That is a 91.1 winning percentage in postseason games since they've moved to the FCS level.
Sounds like me on the sticks, man. Dynasty level.
This is when you like wrap up that dynasty and start a new one, right?
Yeah, take
Like you've
this one.
gotten
You
too
finally take
good.
that job. Yeah, they give those job offers, and you go ahead, you take the job, and then
D-
you change the skill level.
Do you want another one last crazy stat? North Dakota State has only trailed in the national title game 2 times. They trailed in the game they lost to South Dakota State, and they trailed in 2014 to Illinois State, where they came back and won.
Wow,
That's the only 2
that's
times they've
crazy.
ever been behind in an FCS national title game.
That might be even crazier. That might be the craziest stat.
bro, the pure dominance that they have shown is just unbelievable, right? And here's what I don't here's what I think people do lose. And Mr. Campbell, I'm going to get to your comment in a second. Regardless of all the narratives, right, about North Dakota State, can we please talk about how, coach, they've only been an FCS program since like I think it was the mid 2000s. So they're
Huh.
one of the youngest FCS programs. Two, they've done that. This dynasty has stretched 10 national titles in 14 years. Coach, four different head coaches. Do you know how hard it is in today's age of football to win from coach to coach to coach?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Um,
Just
and that
unbelievable.
was and that was one of the things, like I told you, the reason I was still staying with them, even though everyone was picking the undefeated team. And I told you, it's something to be said about a championship culture. And I get it. None of those kids had won one. Well, maybe a few were on the
Yeah,
last same, a few.
yeah, a few have.
But the program itself, pumping through the program's veins is just championship culture. And that's all it was about. And that's why I just gave them a fighter's chance in saying that, one team has been there. Well, they've both been there, but one team has really, really been there. And one team knows what it means to be there. The other team gets there, but not as frequently as the other team. And when you talk about a program that walks through that building, man, and they see all of that, that's something to be said. And I really think that was part of it. And not to mention, as we get into the game, not to mention a fast start. Once they jumped out to that fast start, it was just more of, okay, will the other team crumble or will they be able to come back and withstand it? And as you say, we're about to get into that. So,
Yeah.
championship program, uh, 50, what'd you say, 55-5, uh,
51-5.
51-5, 10-14. It's just a program that knows how to win
Yeah.
those games.
I'll say this. Craig Bowl. So, coach, these are the two streaks that stand out to me. One is the head coach. I guess four consecutive head coaches have won the national title at North Dakota State in their first national title appearance. Three straight coaches have won a national title in their first year as the head coach at the program now.
That's big. That's crazy.
Come on, man. That's
That's crazy.
unbelievable. I mean, what a run here. And also too, let's be honest now, Craig Bowl has had some success as an assistant at the next level. Chris Kleiman is coaching his, what off at Kansas State right now. Because coach, me and you both have lived in Kansas. Nobody has been able to find success at K-State other than Bill Snyder. Nobody.
Right.
They had to go get Bill Snyder out of retirement to save that program
Favorite,
again
yeah.
after he left. Chris Kleiman's winning at K-State, coach. Me and you know that is no easy task.
No,
Matt
Manhattan is
Ince,
not the Manhattan of New York.
no. The Little Apple is called that for a reason. Matt Ince just got his head coaching job at Fresno State. He's been coaching, he went and coached USC for a year as an assistant. And here comes Polasek coming right in, coach, 14-2, wins the 10th natty as the underdog, right? And I think everyone kind of saw the emotion on his face when he did it. I mean, what a journey, right, for this team because everyone kind of counted them out. It was the first time in a long time, coach, where, I mean, a lot of the media was like, yeah, this is the year, Montana State is going to do it. Everyone's talking about Montana State, including me and Timothy and Sam and everybody. Coach, you stuck with the Bison, but what a statement. And real quick before we get in the game, I mean, so Mr. Campbell makes a good point. Can we talk about that NDSU, SDSU, South Dakota, Montana State are separated from all the other FCS schools? Not an HBCU thing, but an FCS issue. That is true. Like, I don't think anyone's saying like those are the state schools, but I'll say this, like, I still think it gets lost in the fact, coach, South Dakota State, South Dakota, Montana State. Now, Montana and North Dakota State have been dominant almost their entire time in FCS, right? Montana's history goes a long way back. North Dakota State's been dominant, but those other three programs have not just been different. You know what I mean? Like on the field, South Dakota State, South Dakota, and Montana State. I mean, Montana State won their last national title was in '84. So,
Mm,
excuse me. They're different because they're state schools, right? They're the flagship schools. And Coach, me and you talked about the recruiting difference, right? Those kids in the Midwest, that's who they want to play for. Coach, where in Mississippi, you go recruit a kid, he probably grew up an Ole Miss fan, a Mississippi State fan. You go recruit a Florida kid, guess what, man? He's probably a Florida State fan. He didn't grow up wanting to necessarily go to FAM. And you got to sell him on that. Up there is different, right? They
that's all they
wanted to
know.
go to these schools.
Yeah, that's all they know.
And so, but I'll say this. Excuse me again. Sorry, guys. I'm coming down with a cold. But I, the narrative that I do want to fight against, Mr. Campbell, is because I saw it. Listen, our guy Kobe didn't mean to over at the Blitz City podcast. Coach, you know what? Like when you accidentally tweet something and like the force, me and you can see what's coming. I don't think he necessarily knew what was coming, but he made a comment about North Dakota State moving up. I just want to reiterate. Listen, you can say what you want about money, resources, state schools, winning, championships, TV market, all that. Until you get an official invite, you ain't going anywhere.
No, you
So
can want to go all you want.
if you're tired of North Dakota State winning national titles, you have two choices. One, you got to improve your program and beat them. Two, the other option is you need to write a strongly worded letter to the Mountain West, the MAC, the CUSA to please invite them to give everybody else an opportunity because those are the only two things that are going to keep them from winning national titles. I'll let you have it, Coach.
I'll be interested to see, and we kind of talked to some of the other media from those places as well. I'd be interested to see because, contrary to popular belief, a lot of those places don't have NILs or collectives, and there's very few of those kids that are getting, something, the bag. So I want to see here going forward, will they be able to maintain that and keep those kids? Uh, there were some talented, skilled kids that could go, and I'm sure could play at the P5. We already know
Bryce
what they
Lance.
got on. Yeah, we already know what they have on the inside, and everybody in the country is looking for O linemen, D linemen. So how strong will that want to have always wanted to play for NDSU? How strong will that stay when now we're going to have these other people really trying to pick at them, so to speak? And I'm sure it's already going on, but here in the next few years, I just want to see if that kind of catches those two, those three, those four, programs that don't necessarily deal in those big collectives or NIL type things. So that's what I want to see.
Yes. And Mr. Campbell, this is an important point. The difference that people are seeing is you have Sac State's AD in interviews saying, we are moving up one way or the other. Like Sac State might go independent, coach, to be honest. Like they want to move up that bad. North Dakota State said, we're going to keep talking to these conferences. And I'll say this. There have been conversations between North Dakota State and the Mountain West. Here's the problem, Mr. Campbell, is there's a segment of schools that want to add them. There's a few, but you have to have a certain majority to get added to the conference. And I just want everyone to think real quick. Coach, you can add a team who brings more money in a different TV market, like some of the Texas schools that have moved up. You can add a bigger television market with a team, coach, that's not going to threaten the top teams in the conference. Or you can add a team who's going to bring less money in the TV market and probably beat your head in when they get to the conference year one. Which one, if you're an AD, are you probably going to add?
So one, the lesser.
That's been the holdup. And
The
also,
lesser.
too, the thing that separates NDSU's AD, and I give him credit for this, man, Matt Larson, compared to some of the other ADs, the other ADs were willing to go into worse situations just to say they were FBS. North Dakota State said, if we don't get the offer we want, we're not moving to FBS just to say we're FBS. We're going to get the money we deserve, and it was going to be a good situation for this program. We're not just going to move up because everyone wants us to. We're going to move up when it's right for us and it's the right offer. And to me, if all everyone who gets tired of saying NDSU at the FCS level, they talk about their schools making good business decisions. So you're supposed to give North Dakota State credit for making good business decisions. We're not going to
Yeah, at the
take
end of the day.
just any old offer. And I think that's a smart move. I'll say this. I will be very surprised if NDSU is not FBS within the next 5 years because they are behind the scenes actively trying to move. And I know that for a fact. They told the Mountain West when there was an opening, we want in, and they chose to go a different direction. That's all I got to say. They told the Mountain West, we will come if we get an offer, and they said no.
No offer.
Never offered them, but they went and got UC Davis and all these other programs that shouldn't be there. I mean, you know how it is. But coach, in the game, I mean, I'm gonna say this. I don't think the final score indicates how in control North Dakota State was of this game.
No, no.
I really don't. And I think it started with that first quarter, coach, when North Dakota State had the ball a majority of the quarter. They put up 2 big touchdowns. Montana State seemed a little bit off rhythm, I would say, offensively, and just some of the breakdowns they had, man. And just in terms of what they were trying to do, like that first drive for North Dakota State, coach, 12 plays, 75 yards, took off 7 minutes off the clock. And then you had the Cam Miller play, which I still don't know what they were calling, man. Coach, give me your thoughts on this first half performance. I think in the first quarter, it really is what kind of separated. When you play a team like North Dakota State, coach, 14-0 in the first quarter is a death sentence.
Yeah, you can't go down 21-3 at the half just because you're not going to have enough time. You're not going to have enough time to catch them, especially when you're not a quick strike, so to speak, air it out type of offense. And, the play that you're talking about is when he takes one and he sees right off, no one in the middle. Great call. I'm not sure what they had seen in film preparation to let them know in those third down situations that they were going to go zero man. And they just happened to have the right call at the right time, man. And C. Miller just split the middle. And we were sitting there, and to be there in it live, you could feel the air come out of that building because that was not expected to be one of the things that would break MTS down, was him with the run game, so to speak. So, that call was huge. And I just think the momentum, it never really swung back.
I was muted. I was going through something. No, I'll say this, coach, just as a D coordinator, and this is both sides, right? And I want to say this. This is both teams. There should never be a moment when you're running man coverage across an empty set and you don't have a spy.
Got to stay in your lanes.
Because I look back at that play, and coach, they had a safety like over the top of, I want to say it was the I'm trying to think. I want to say it was the side of the 2 wide receivers where they just had the 2 wide receivers. There was 2 wide receivers over here. They motioned, I think, the running back out there. They had a safety over the top. That safety's got to be down in the box on Miller. You got to trust your guys one-on-one.
Yeah, he's got to see that. And it's really tricky because at the end of the day, it's 3rd and 5, I think, something like that, 3rd and 4.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to say.
I think we lost coach there. We'll get him back in a second. But yeah, it was just the timing of the play. Like looking at where they were on the field and everything. And I'll say this, the biggest indictment was North Dakota State runs that play all the time. Like anybody who's watching them play now, listen, there is an RPO concept that they can run off of it, but it was 3rd and 4, and they were on their side of the field. I think you have to account for Miller's legs in that moment. There's no chance that you just let him go up the middle, because if you watch, because me and Coach are actually going to do a film study while we're waiting for him. This is the perfect time to promote it. Me and Coach next week are recording a film breakdown of this game. It'll be released for members only. But if you watch the play, before his back foot is set, he's ready to take off and run. Coach, and me and you talked about this on the sideline. As soon as Miller saw that there was a linebacker on the slot guy, I want to say there was two linebackers or a safety on the two slot guys. As soon as their backs turned, Miller was gone.
Yeah, nobody in the box. Yeah, he saw that. It was a 4-man box basically.
And it was 3rd and 4. I looked it up for you, Coach. It was 3rd and 4.
I knew it wasn't a just and at that point, to wholesale it out to 0, I just didn't, I didn't understand that. But, again, I don't know what the game plan was, what they saw in their preparation for NDSU. But once he got up there and saw that it was a 4-man box, they were not even attached in the overhang situations. They were all the way out of the box. And then it was just a matter of his guards getting those tackles turned out, which they did perfectly. And right down Broadway he went and showed some wheels. Showed some wheels.
Yeah. Coach, I mean, there was a guy on the play who didn't even have to block anybody. I mean, and then also, too, man, Mr. Campbell brings up a good point. I think, and we're going to talk about the most crucial play in the game, in my opinion. This was a decision that I think really kind of cost Montana State the game, that 4th down call.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Coach, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even see a logical reason why you would go for it in that moment.
You were down. And I think, again, I don't want to say they hit the panic button, but I think at that point, the momentum was just, they could feel it getting away. And I think they just kind of, at that point, for lack of a better word, they panicked and said, hey, we got to get this all or nothing. And I think that's kind of what went into that decision, because you got to remember at that point, it was getting hairy,
Yeah, 14-3 at that point.
Yeah, it was getting hairy. But I still think you got to punt that away, just because you can't give them the short field, because you are having issues with catching up to the offensive coordinator. So I think you got to punt that. But I think the play of the game was when they did kind of get back in it. They clawed back in it. They got close, got within arm's distance. It was 3rd and
6, I want to say.
I think they just got a penalty after that.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the play, right? I'm trying to pull up the play real quick on that. You're talking about the Lance start, right?
Yeah, the slot fade, and he makes this ridiculous catch at the 2-yard line, and the building went flat again, and they just never got it back at that point, even though, like you said, the score. But that play right there was a must-have for NDSU, because if you give the ball back, who knows? They've been able to stop you. Now maybe the momentum, maybe now they start to feel good about themselves. But you throw that thing up there, slot fade, he catches it at the 2-yard line. Air gone again. Air gone again.
Coach, it was 3rd and 6 with 14 seconds left on Montana State's 40. I mean, because you remember it was 3rd and 1. They had the false start, pushes back.
That's what the penalty was.
6. Yeah. And I mean, listen, Lance makes a hell of a catch. If you haven't seen the play, go check my social media. I put out a GIF of the play, because I think, Coach, that if I obviously, listen, the game was 60 minutes. More than one play mattered. But I think if you had to pinpoint the exact moment North Dakota State won this game, it's right there. Because, Coach, this as a coach. If on 3rd and 6, you go 3 and out, quarter ends, right? Because there was 15 seconds left. Montana State gets the ball back early 4th quarter. If they go down and score, they're in the lead. And, man, Coach, you felt it on the sideline. I don't know if you get the momentum back.
Yeah, pressure's all on you now.
I think that right there, and I said it on social media, that is the epitome of playmakers making plays in big games. In your superstars. Yeah. Your superstars have to make plays in the biggest moments. That was it. And Timothy, it was the one that kind of quoted this coach. He said, all year, North Dakota State has won in the margins. And what he meant by that is when you look at the box score, all these games are kind of close, and you're like, oh, this could have went back and forth. You're like, man, well, what was the difference? How did North Dakota State win this game by this much? How did North Dakota State win this game? Coach, their key plays come in the biggest moments, whether it's a third down stop here, a turnover here, a scoring a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal, a big third down conversion. It matters when your big plays come, right? You can have a bunch of big plays, but they come in the wrong moments, so you're not able to capitalize on them. They're empty calorie stats. North Dakota State was so good this year, coach, at winning in the margins, where every time they needed a play, coach, 7 would make a play, 5 would make a play, 43 on defense would make a play, 91 on defense would make a play. Their superstars were so good at being clutch, coach. And I think that's something that you talk about, championship culture, not blinking in the moment. That's something a lot of teams lack. And that's what separates true championship teams from great teams. Because, coach, I want to say this. There's been a lot of hate on Montana State. Like, how did they get here? How were they 15-0? That was a good football team. On the other side, they didn't have the championship mentality, the championship, I guess, what would you call it? Like attributes or that it factor about them, like North Dakota State did. Because we saw it, they came out tight. North Dakota State came out like, hey, we're going to win another national title tonight.
Yeah, we belong here.
Shout out to Polasek and that staff. But, Coach, and another one, too, this was something I did not see happening, right? Because I think me and you both agree. Listen, 4 is great, right? Mellott's great at quarterback. But that offensive line for Montana State has been dominant this year. They had, I think, 3 All-Americans on that offensive line. Coach, they lost the line of scrimmage battle for the first time all season. I think that was the difference. North Dakota State's front 4 was amazing. Coach, I looked shout out to Timothy, man. You know, we love our analytics over here. North Dakota State, coach, recorded 26 individual pressures on 32 dropbacks on Monday night.
That's insane.
How? How in the world does that happen? And, coach, I want to give a shout out to this guy, Toby. I believe it's a Neen. His win rate on pass rush plays was 28% off the left end.
That's getting done.
I'll take a 28% win rate every day.
Yeah, that's getting done.
The crazy part is, coach, and you could talk about this. I think fans, when they look at effective pass rush, they always look at sacks. And that, yes, completing the sack is good, right? But if they had 26 pressures, coach, 0 sacks. So I think if people just watched the box score or didn't watch the game or really didn't look into the analytics, they would say North Dakota State got no pressure on Mellott all night long, when that's not true. They had Mellott uncomfortable in the pocket, and a lot of those passing yards you guys see came in the second half when they were coming back, made that late push, the big touchdown to Taco Dollar at the end of the game. North Dakota State controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides, too. There was a run, and we're going to talk about it in the film breakdown next week. They did that. There was a run with Shamar Brown on, I want to say it was the game-winning touchdown drive, where they just defensive tackles get turned out. They get to the linebacker, and the hole's big enough for me and Fred to get 7 yards on if we just fall forward. They imposed their will on Montana State's front 4, and that was the difference. But, coach, just real quick, man, talk a little bit about the importance of establishing a pass rush, and that it's not always about the sack, but it's getting the quarterback uncomfortable in the pocket and speeding up that internal clock.
That's all it is. I mean, it's like you said, you want to end it with a sack. If you could end with 6 sacks a game, that'd be great. But if you can get him uncomfortable, if you can get him to trying to watch you guys instead of keeping his eyes on the field, if you can get to the point to where his 3-step drop, that back foot hits the ground and he's about to let it go and he's got pressure in his face, that changes everything. It throws off timing, and it gets him uncomfortable. So having that, a mix of that around his feet all night, I think, really makes a difference. And that's what they did.
Coach, coming into the game, I just want to put this in perspective for people. Montana State was allowing pressure on only 17% of all dropbacks this season. and allowed 26 on 32 dropbacks in this game.
One set was really nervous, tight. I won't say nervous like you said. I'll say tight. And one side just cut it loose, and you could see that early on, and it kept going, and they were able to get it fixed somewhat, I think, in the second half. But
Yeah.
I just think spotting somebody with 17 points is tough in a national championship game, especially a good program.
Especially North Dakota State, right? Like that's really the difference here. Because, Coach, I want to point this out for people, excuse me, who might not know. North Dakota State this year only recorded 34 total sacks, Coach, which not bad, right? Like, but that's not near how long it took, or I guess how high the bar's been set nationally. Coach, coming into the game, they had one of the highest pressure rates in the country at like 45%. That's the
Good mix.
difference.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get home, you want to at least get him off his spot. You at least want to do that, and that sounds like what they did. They may not have been getting home a lot, but they were there. They were knocking at the door.
I'm trying to find the comment because our guy Andrew Markle, man, it was great to see you, man, at the game. This is what I was surprised Montana State didn't do more of, Coach, because I said in the preview, the reason I thought Montana State had a good shot at winning this game is because their ability to attack side to side, east to west, and attack the edges, right? It seemed like they were almost trying to make a statement, right? Running it up the middle. When, Coach, when we look at North Dakota State's team, their strength is in the interior. Those two D tackles are unbelievable. Their linebackers are good. Why are you running into the teeth of a defense when you have the athleticism to get to the edge, get into open space? And I think you saw more creativity offensively in the second half once they kind of calmed down. And then you saw the explosive plays. You saw them scheming up stuff downfield. And this is what I talked about. I don't think they had a lot of wide receivers, Coach, Montana State, that are good in one-on-one opportunities, right?
I think we talked about it. Yeah, I don't think they have that guy that could actually just take it off.
Bryce Lance, like, because, Coach, I compare it to kind of a basketball player. Can you create your own shot? I don't think Montana State had anyone that could create their own shot. Bryce Lance can go create his own shot.
Yeah, when he wanted
and we
to.
saw it all night. And I got to give North Dakota State credit for this because, Coach, me and you talked about it in the second half. They were playing like 8 yards off of Lance because they were scared, excuse me, that he was going to get over the top. What did North Dakota State do? They adjusted. Underneath. They hit him with like a skinny post, a slant. And I just think they had Montana State on their heels defensively. I don't feel like North Dakota State was ever on their heels defensively. And you saw they schemed up some good passes in the second half. Like, I want to say they had like the tight end come up the rail, like on like a rail route, wide open. Because they had the motion. They should have used, like, in my opinion, I'm not like a motion guy or nothing like that. Like, I know Scotty, shout out to Scotty, loves his motion. I just thought that they didn't show as much creativity in the first half with their play calling compared to the second half. And maybe that had to do with them being up, being tight and everything. But in that second half, you saw the potential of Montana State, right? And why they were 15-0. It's just in the first half, Coach, they just made too many mistakes. And we talk about this all the time, red zone, right? You got to score touchdowns in these championship games, Coach. On that field goal drive, I want to point this out. Montana State went 17 plays, 61 yards, and had the ball for 11 minutes and kicked a field goal.
Yep. Had the whole quarter. And that's what they ended with the field goal. The one thing that I was kind of taken back by from them was that you had the Walter Payton Award winner. And I didn't see it, but I thought that he would be more in the game plan, more in the mix, in his hands a little more as far as, like you said, getting to the edge. And I know what their offense is, but I think at that point, when you're in that setting on that stage, you got to ride what got you there. And he's the one that got you there. He needs to be making all of the decisions. He needs to be on the edge. He needs to be the guy that's putting NDSU in a bind by making them have to make adjustments. And they didn't do that with him because, I mean, at some point, I'm thinking we're going to spread this thing out and just let him do his thing. Draw, zone read stuff, just something to keep it in his hands. And, and when he got outside, the touchdown he scored was a breakdown.
Yeah.
It was a pass, but it was a breakdown. But you saw once he got outside, there was nobody on the field that could go get it. And I just
No.
don't think they tried to put that in the game plan enough for me by him being the award winner. You got to put him in the mix.
Well, Montana State's offense does such a good job of putting you in unwinnable situations. What I mean by that, excuse me, Coach, it wasn't even like a normal pass play. It was actually kind of like this RPO thing where, remember, they had the read option. So he pulls it from the running back. You could give it to the running back there. Tommy circles out. They had two guys on routes out there that he could have thrown it to. And Tommy's so good with his legs, which you saw on the play as he scored. It's like a three-headed monster with this offense. And they do such a good job at putting defenses. Like, they just let you choose. Do you want us to have a passing touchdown? Do you want us the running back to go off, or do you want Tommy to go off? Pick one of the three. And
that
all
was the
season,
pressure.
Yeah.
That was the pressure. After he pulls it, he was ready to let it go when he got flushed, if you remember, and then he has to get outside and then he's gone. But nobody's catching him once he gets outside of that.
No, and also too, I want to say they were playing man because both DBs' backs were turned, and the one DB on the outside who had the chance, he never saw him. And once Tommy got the angle on him, good luck.
No chase.
Because I'll say this: like, people don't understand how athletic Tommy Mellott is, because I've heard some narratives about this Montana State team not being that fast. Tommy Mellott ran a low 4.4 in the Montana wind outside last year at their junior day. The kid can fly. So let's I'll just say, like, the kid's a freak athlete. But also too, Coach, like you said, I don't think they put the defense in a lot of bad situations. But in the second half, I just thought they let it all go, and they should have let it all go from the first quarter. But I do think that I go back to that field goal. If they score there, Coach, and it's 14-7, they're probably not desperate enough to go for it on fourth down late second half. And then on top of that too, Coach, if you're North Dakota State, they called a timeout right before, you remember? That's what made me think you don't go for it, right? North Dakota State called a timeout. They're going to be prepared now. Kick it. Or is North Dakota State as aggressive if they have to go from their own 10 compared to going from the 50?
No. They probably run it a couple times, and if they get nothing, they let it go and end of the quarter, but you serve it up on a platter. We really got to try.
Yeah. I didn't love that play. And also too, man, I do want to say this. I have it on the Today's Show lineup. Cam Miller and Bryce Lance were superstars on Monday night. Coach, Cam Miller goes 19 for 22 for 199 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, no turnovers, runs for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns on 18 attempts, averaging almost 7 yards per carry. Bryce Lance goes 9 for 107 for a touchdown. And Coach, I want to remind people, Bryce Lance came into the year with like 1 catch in his career. Coach, hang on. In 4 games in the playoffs, right, Coach? Lance had 25 receptions for 375 yards and 7 touchdowns in the playoffs this year.
I knew where it was going.
Well, God, man, that kid is an absolute nightmare, man. I mean, he's all of 6'3", 200 plus pounds. Coach, this year, coming into the year, he had 1 catch for 7 yards. This year, he finished with 1,000 yards on 75 catches with 17 touchdowns, the all-time single season leader in North Dakota State history.
Talking about growing up.
God.
And number 3, RN,
Yep.
he had some big plays for him as well.
That first quarter on the touchdown drive, when he dove and caught it on the sideline and set up the red zone trap, that was a hell of a catch.
Yeah, he carried it, and then I think from that point on, they kind of said, you know what, let's ride with 5. And I don't know if you noticed it, but a lot of his catches came in the single side. They trip, or 2 by 1, and he's the one with the sniffer or whatever, and they never put anybody out there. And then when they did try to put somebody over the top, someone in his face, someone over the top, we'll just go to number 3, or Cam, make something happen. And that's just kind of how it went. So I don't really think they had a plan for him. And once he started to get off, that I don't think they had anybody in secondary that they could just say, "Hey, this is your assignment, man. Get it done." Uh,
No.
and we saw that happen late in the ball game when they had to have a play. 3rd and 5, they threw it to him. 3rd and 6, they threw it to him, and he came up all but one time. He came up with it, and that's as he said in that interview. That's what I'm here for. I'm a receiver. I'm supposed to catch the ball. Like,
Just
okay,
go
I
get
like it, young fella. I
just
like
go
it,
get
young
it
fella.
done, right? And also
Yeah,
too, I just like you said, they just put him in such good opportunities. Like that touchdown catch he had, because we were standing there in the end zone. The kid's 4 yards outside the hash. Now, you can run some sort of fade because there really wasn't enough room with how wide they had them. How do you just give up the slant and don't even get your hands on them?
yeah. I didn't understand that one down there. If anything, I want to give the fade throw.
Yeah.
The fade throw's got to be perfect. Um,
It's
the
a it's
slant
it's
throw is a
a
little easier
lower
throw.
it's a lower percentage throw
Yeah,
compared to a
and
wide open slant.
again, I just one team had been there um, and expected, and the other team I think was just a little, I don't want to say over the top, or just kind of a little just out of it, because there's no reason to be lined up outside shade if you don't have any inside help down in that area at all. No
That's
need
what
for
I
that.
was thinking, like, because drop a linebacker, have a safety
Somebody
there to
should have been
to
coming.
help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something if you're gonna be
because if you're
outside
if
shade.
yeah, if you're gonna play the fade, you gotta have someone to take away the slant, especially with Lance there, right? If it's
Because
anybody else,
you know
maybe.
where they're going.
Bro, you told me, you said before they snapped, you said it's 5. He's either going fade or throwing the slant, and they threw
Single
the
them up.
slant.
Boom.
I will say this, outside of Mellott, coach, 22 carries for 60 yards for the running backs for Montana State. A team that averages 300 yards per game on the ground. Just
Yeah.
unbelievable,
Took them away. Took it away.
really and truly. And also too, the Montana State has done a good job getting after the quarterback all year long, especially in key moments. Not this time. They only allowed 10 total pressures this game, coach. North Dakota State did. And one of the sacks was just on like a broken play where Miller had a shot to get out. He kind of waited a little too long, and then they never really got Miller uncomfortable. And coach, you can say everyone can say what they want, man. But listen, I voted for Cam Miller for the Walter Payton. They gave it to Mellott. I don't care who won it, man. They both kind of deserve something. But I think you saw like, man, Cam Miller in the clutch moments
Came up.
is different. 'Cause I conceded. I thought Mellott had the better statistical season, but Mellott never had a moment like the game-winning touchdown drive, the 2 game-winning touchdown drives against South Dakota State this year for Miller. They didn't have a game like this on the resume. Like, every time North Dakota State needed to play, Miller was the guy. And coach, I do think, listen, they're gonna lose some pieces, right? To graduation. They got Gray Zabel's going to probably gonna be a first or second round NFL draft pick at tackle. I want to say Mason Miller's graduating. Mostert's graduating, if I'm not mistaken. Bryce Lance, we'll see what happens with him. We already know, coach. I mean, listen, every school in the country is going to be calling Bryce Lance and offering him a check. But I think losing Cam Miller is by far the biggest loss for this team. And they'll be fine. Listen, this is North Dakota State, coach. Me and you will probably be watching him in Nashville next year. But that guy's journey is unbelievable, man. Coach, there were calls to bench him, and he said it in his press conference. He said, "I remember when people said that I was the reason we weren't winning anything." And coach, his
A year
senior
ago.
year to turn it around says, "I'm the reason that we're winning everything now." Like, man, what a
Yeah.
vindicated, whatever you want. Like, man, that's a hell of a story. That needs a 30 for 30 right there,
A year ago. How soon things change.
coach. 1 for 12 against Incarnate Word in 2022.
Yeah, we talked
I mean,
about it on the show. He
I
a year
what
ago.
who would have thought? And I'll say this. I do want to say this. We talk about development all the time, right, coach? Especially at the FCS level. Go watch Cam Miller's film from his freshman sophomore year, and go turn on the film from this year. You want to talk about some development? Because I talked to someone yesterday, guys. We were watching the film of a quarterback who committed to PV. And we were talking about if you could build a quarterback in today's age of football on what you want at the FCS level, bro, Cam Miller would be probably the prototype with his athleticism, his accuracy, his arm. That's what you would
Yep.
want, right? A guy who could do it all. And you got to give him, I think, oh, wow, okay. Bryce Lance announced he's returning to NDSU. That is a problem for
Wow.
the
That's
FCS.
big. That's big.
Woo.
Well, he don't need any money, man. I mean, he ain't chasing the bag. His brother's got the bag, so
Hey,
he's all right.
I told someone I told someone that they needed his brother needed to call Jerry and get that cowboy NIL money going.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
No,
His brother was
I need to
former
find
first
the
rounder.
announcement. I did not see that. But he did 27 minutes ago, coach. He posted run it back with the picture from the Natty.
I love it. I love it.
Shout out to Bryce, bro. I'm just
I
gonna
love it.
say it. No shot at any players. That right there, that right there is different, man. There's so many players out here chasing the bag, chasing opportunities, man. To come back, because coach, me and you both know firsthand, he got a 6-figure plus offer. And I'm not talking about 100K.
Hmm.
We're talking closer to 7 figures and 6 figures offer to leave. And so, man, and also too, and me and Mr. Campbell, have always went back and forth about it. Hey, I mean that's it. Like that's what separates those programs. That's the biggest gap between them and the Southern. And I'm not talking about HBCU, just FCS programs, coach. Bro,
Yeah.
no one at Mercer is like, man, I'm going to stay in Mercer with a
No, it's
6-figure
not happening.
offer to go
Yeah.
somewhere else.
No, it's
It's
not happening.
different. But coach, man, real quick,
It's big time.
the final FCS top 25 came out. I mean, it looks just like the playoffs finished. Is there a team in your mind right now? And listen, this is just way too early spitballing for the last few minutes of this podcast. Is there a team that you think is going to be the Mercer or the incarnate word from a few years ago, or the Tarleton that's going to make that jump into the U Albany from last year? Who's that sleeper team for you? Way too early. It's January 10th, coach. We know there's going to be 7,000 kids there's 7,000, 8,000 kids in the portal, so this will change. But just off the top of your head, man, is there a team that you're looking at to be the sleeper next year?
I have two, and I don't know if one would be considered, but from what I hear, the rumblings coming out of Idaho, I think, they're starting to put some things back together, and I think that'll, when those announcements kind of come, I think, it'll make sense when I say putting things back together. So I see them, and then the one that's trying to talk us into it is Sacramento State.
They're trying.
So they're trying to talk us into it. They're trying to talk me into it anyway. So, with what they have coming down the pike and what they say they're going to do, I could see if they're able to pull off some of the stuff that they said they want to pull off. I could see them being in there as well.
I'm trying to find the tweet that I saw about Sac State. um, I want to say, coach, okay. So their transfer portal class right now ranks above Clemson, Penn State, Florida, UNLV, South Dakota State, the entire CUSA, the entire MAC, and the entire Mountain West right now.
That sounds so weird, man. Transfer portal class, but it's where
Coach,
we're at right now.
on one recruiting site, Sacramento State has the number 9 transfer portal class in the nation.
Transfer portal class.
Bro, the number 9 transfer portal class in the country. That is absolutely insane.
I
That's my
told you they're
biggest
trying to
question,
talk us
Dustin.
into it.
Offensive line is the next question for me, because they're losing Jackson Slater, who's probably going to be an NFL draft pick. They got some other guys that are, iffy in terms of coming back. Coach, I'll say this. They're confident. Coach, their freshman All-American quarterback tried to come back, and they said, we don't need you.
Yeah, it's wild. But we all know it ain't 7-on-7.
No.
And if you ain't got it up front, man, I don't care what you got in those other positions. It ain't going to matter.
No. But Sac State would be there for me. Also, okay, so I'm trying to think, like, what's a jump? Because, listen, I think Incarnate Word's going to be really good next year. But they were kind of a top 10 team already, so I don't think they're really a sleeper per se. Sam, not Sam Houston. Justin's gonna beat me for that, but Stephen F. Austin is a team I'm looking at. Dustin's been trying to sell me on it behind the scenes. Listen, coach, they bring back their all conference quarterback, bring back an All American level wide receiver. Their NIL's been kind of rolling in there, so I think SFA could be interesting.
Shout out to my guy too.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Dustin, man. It's good to see you. He's oh man, crack me. I would probably say Sac State right now. I will. I'll say this: the Montana State of this year could be South Dakota. They return a lot of pieces, man. And for Aiden Bauman and those guys to come back, they're going to be really, really good. I think Charles Pierre is coming back as well. They get Gary Bryant back at wide receiver. I do think they need some help on the defensive line, but I think South Dakota could be sneaky good next year. And then final question, Mr. Campbell said, what does Tennessee State need to do to make that next jump? Not lose their entire defense every offseason.
Yeah, they get cherry picked.
I want to say Tennessee State lost every single starter from their defense this offseason.
I think
it
was at least, was somebody say nine stars?
Yeah, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, oh God. I mean, it's just brutal, right? It's just tough to build a contender when you're losing everything.
Everybody. Every year. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
tough.
I want to, like, I just think, and someone's saying Conklin's going back. I want to say they said no. I'm almost fairly certain, unless he deleted it. He might have. They might have actually taken him back. Okay, yeah. So he said they ended up changing their mind, coach. So he's back at Sac State. So now they got a freshman All-American quarterback.
It's a wild, wild world out here we live in.
Listen, like Mr. Campbell said, bro, Carson Beck's going to probably Miami just to hang out with his girl. That's what FCS programs got to get better at. We got to recruit the girlfriends.
Something. Wait, Carson Beck is what?
Yeah, Carson Beck's hit the portal yesterday.
Thought he was. Never mind.
Yeah, he declared for the draft, then hit the portal with the do not contact tag. Coach,
Miami's trying to buy it, man.
Hey,
they're trying to buy it.
Miami ain't buying nothing. What they told his girl, like, you can pay for him using your NIL package for pay for him using that TikTok money. Hey, that's different, man. Listen, now if Miami recruited his girlfriend just to get him the next year, that's gangster right there.
That's forward thinking.
Hey, listen, shout out to Miami for that. Oh, and Coach Fred wants to know how this. Dustin wants to know, Coach Fred, how were the cigars? Oh man.
Oh yeah. You need to go find you one and light up on the show.
Yeah, but me and you. Hey,
the
first coaches lounge we have this off season.
Let me know if you need some suggestions to go get. I'll give you suggestions.
And Mr. Campbell, it was just a joke. Yeah, like I know because there's the twins. One of them's really good. The other one's not very good. I don't remember. I don't know. I didn't know which one he was dating because one of them's not very good. The other one is a baller. I'm not sure which one he was dating though. I'm a Paige Beckers fan. Paige is balling up there in UConn.
How crazy is it, man, for kids to be leaving blue blood programs, Georgia, to go to, Miami, leaving Oklahoma to go to USC. Like, I mean, man, it's going to get crazy before it gets better.
I can't wait for the NFL talk.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. Me and Coach are going to be doing a lot of NFL draft content. Okay, so he said, oh, the other twin left, the good one stayed. Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. I knew one was just a bench warmer. The other one was like leading Miami in scoring or something like that. Oh man, that is funny. But listen, guys, we're gonna have a bunch of new shows, man. Listen, Coach's Lounge is gonna be relaunching this offseason. We're gonna have the Coach's Corner as always. Me and Coach will be doing mailbags, different things on here. Like I said, Coach's Lounge, Coach's Corner. We're gonna have a bunch of special guests coming on the show as well. Player interviews. Me and Coach will both be down at the Legacy Bowl. I'll be at the Shrine and Senior Bowl. So listen, just because I say this every year because there's no off season on this show. Other programs will move on to basketball off season, take a little break. Me and Coach never sleep.
Football, football, football,
It's football all year long.
Football.
Recruiting, NFL draft. So we'll have plenty of content coming y'all's way, man. Hit the like button, subscribe. We appreciate everyone who tuned in, man. And yes, Andrew, we'll have to get the group on for sure, man. Me and Coach will reach out to you on that for sure, man. And listen, it's noon. So me and Coach are about to get out here, go get some lunch, man. But listen, hit the like button, subscribe. Y'all stay safe out there in the snow.
And warm.
Stay warm, man. Me and Coach will be back next week, man. But for right now, we out.